Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and I am so happy to practice with you on this beautiful, beautiful spring day in Spokane. And may this practice reach your hearts and your minds. May your spirit feel light, and may you have sort of a gentle infusion of encouragement on your journey today. I'd like to set the intention of our practice. Oh, this is a fun one. With this sentiment of loving kindness. These are these little paintings I've made over the years. This one has a single word written on the back, and it reads, gaze. Our wonderful Sangha member Marty is here today. Marty is a long-term Soul Center community member and facilitator of Recovery Dharma. And one of the most inspiring impressions he leaves in our community are these two words: just breathe. And so for the next moment or two, let's enjoy breathing together. And let's use this sentiment of metta, of loving kindness, to turn the gaze inward. And allow your gaze to land either on the physical body and what you might be experiencing in this clay vessel of yours, this beautiful temple of movement and presence. If that doesn't feel relatable to you at this moment, then turn your gaze to the mind and maybe some of the thoughts that are emerging, and even some of the stories that might be happening in the mind. And as you breathe, see if you can do so with a degree of intentionality such that there's space between you, the experiencer, and the observer, and the thoughts and stories. And the motivation to create this space is to begin to cultivate some insight, some capacity to observe, and to recognize that so much of our reactivity to our thoughts is related to the fact that we're hooked and attached. There's no space. So if we can simply observe the thoughts, allow them plenty of room to move around, we're less likely to be hooked by them and by extension react to them or upon them. So breathe with the intention of creating space. Friends, for the month of April, we have been exploring something in Buddhism called the Four Noble Reminders. And while it is easy on the mind to make a list, to compartmentalize reminders, there's only 4 of them and they're easy to remember. The beauty of the Buddhist practice is recognizing how many of these ideas and concepts, while they stand alone, they also overlap and interconnect. One cannot exist without the other. The 4 noble reminders that we've been exploring are: you have a precious human life. It is rare to be here. When you really think about the evolution that has unfurled over billions of years to such a degree that we've arrived together in this moment, it's a mystery and miraculous at the same time. And it's fleeting. This life is so fragile. We're going to be here for a very short period of time, which makes it sacred and precious. The second noble reminder is that everything is subject to change. The nature of reality is impermanent. The good things in our lives are not going to last. Likewise, the bad things in our lives are not going to last. Everything is in motion. Everything is fluid. But we have habit energy of clinging. And because of that, we resist. We inhibit our capacity of movement and flow. And so to remember that the nature of reality is impermanent is to begin to add some suppleness to your life and your practice. The third noble reminder is karma. Your actions matter. And this is a very, very complicated topic because we have a lot of conditioning in our Judeo-Christian heritage and the mythology that is very thick in the Western mind about reward and punishment. Karma is much more neutral than that. It's a basic awareness that your actions, positive, negative, or neutral, have results, positive, negative, and neutral. And so our capacity to observe that connection will determine and even at times dictate our next actions. So for instance, if we're acting in a way that's causing harm and we're also experiencing that pain, there's a reinforcement there to wake us up to maybe act differently so that we cause less harm to ourselves and others. That's the basic idea. But there's a fourth reminder, and that is the folly of samsara, which is what we're going to be talking about today and tomorrow. The folly of samsara simply points to the nature of being human, and the nature of life has cycles. It's circular and cyclical. It means we go round and round and round in our experiences. It's how we learn. The folly piece, however, are the distortions and stories we tell ourselves over and over and over again as if we're getting somewhere in this circular way of being. In the journey of recovery from substance misuse, for instance, specifically alcohol, there are often stories of people who will go on a bender. They wake up in the morning and it's like, God, I'm never going to do that again. I'm done. And then by mid-afternoon, feeling a little bit better. Toxins have been flushed from the body a little bit, and you're back at the bar. And so there's this hope, there's this desire that we're not going to engage in that behavior, but we do it again and again and again, hoping this time the result will be different, but the behavior isn't different. And so we're just hamsters on wheels going nowhere. So how do we work with that? How do we get off the wheel? For some people, it's a simple matter. You get off. For other people, it's way more complicated than that. It's not that simple. And the reasons why it's not simple are complex and deeply personal. So today, I'd like to share with you some of my own cyclical habit energy that I am learning to redirect so that I'm not going round and round and round, particularly with the stories I tell myself. There was a business owner in the Pelican building here who wanted to have an open house, and she wanted it to be kind of a small event. And she brought this idea to me, and I misunderstood her. And so I took her small, personal, kind of intimate, private event request, and I blew it up to make it this big building-wide event, and we're going to open up the whole building and features everybody's business, and it was going to be great. Because I have that habit energy of A, taking over, B, being a bull in a china shop. I mean, I'm just sometimes big personality, and I get excited and enthusiastic and passionate. And those qualities are beautiful and wonderful, except not all the time. And so I misread the situation, and then she petered out in her enthusiasm. And when I followed up with her, she just was like, yeah, I'm not really into it. I'm not really ready for it. And can we do this, another time? And I was like, sure. All good. No worries. But then the cyclical story started happening. Why do I always have to take over? Why am I not a better listener? I probably totally disappointed her and ruined our connection. She's probably really angry with me, avoiding me. On and on it went. And I didn't know how to reach out to her. It was just this awkward situation. And this happened weeks ago, by the way, friends. So just this morning, I saw her in the parking lot, and I said, I'd love to chat with you. I have a splinter in my mind. I have a story I'm telling myself, and I just shared with her. I said, I could really use your reassurance about this story I'm telling myself. I really want to extend an apology if I took over and you felt kind of shut down. That would never be my intention, but I think that happens sometimes. I'm working on that. I'm observing that propensity within me. And can we talk about it? And she looked at me with such appreciation. And then she shared what her experience was, which, by the way, was nothing like my story. Because as it happens, she had her own life that was going on, and she had all of her own stuff that was happening that had nothing to do with me. But because I was so consumed by my own patterns, my own stories. I really got into this inflated, self-centered, circular round and round. It didn't really occur to me that she might have some other personal stuff going on that inhibited her from getting excited about it. I think this happens a lot. I don't think this just happens to me, which is why I'm sharing it with you. And it's one of the ways we go round and round and round. And a way to break that cycle is to simply recognize, oh, this is a circular story, and it's diminishing to myself. It's deflating to aspects of my personality that are really bright and beautiful and fun. And I need to stop doing that to myself. And I need to open up to learn something, and I need to open up to hear someone else's perspective. It takes vulnerability, trust, and a capacity for this other person to receive my feedback and then respond to me with honesty, which she did. It's beautiful. And going forward, now, if something like this happens, I don't have to minimize my enthusiasm or my passion. These are things that are really, really positive about me. What I can do, however, is communicate with a little bit more clarity. I can communicate a little bit more inclusivity. That's the lesson that I learned here today. So I don't have to start creating any regret. I don't have to start getting down on myself. The situation has been resolved and healed. And now going forward, I have this whole opportunity to do something different. And that, my friends, is how we break this false cyclical way of being. And we step into this authenticity within ourselves that truly is magnanimous, benevolent, bright, generous. We all have it. This is the nature of who we all are. This is Buddha nature. So a great place to start in reflecting on the folly of samsara, cyclical being, is to look at the cyclical thoughts, the stories you tell, the way you go round and round and round in your mind. And work with someone, talk to someone you trust, talk to someone who can be honest with you and at the same time cherishing of you. This is a precious exchange. And it heals deep, deep places in the mind and in the heart. Let's allow for a few moments of silence to allow this to settle in and maybe stir up your own thoughts and your own reflections. And when we're done, you'll hear the chimes sing one more time. Okay. Let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. One of the things that is so humbling about this practice, and Rose, I want to thank you for bringing forward the inclusivity of the years before abstinence, like solid, sustained abstinence, as part of your journey. It really is, and it reminds me of mastery. How do we get to mastery? Practice. It really is about practice. And this notion of practice making perfect is a false one. Practice, from a Buddhist perspective, makes practice. We're simply just here to practice. And we honor and hold sacred every step of the way, particularly because we recognize that in the limitless space of equanimity or inclusivity, when we can allow the whole of our lives to guide us, to open us up, we begin to really understand what it means to be free. There's ease in inclusivity. There's challenge in inclusivity. But with practice, we grow and nurture our resilience and our capacity for it all. And we can't do it alone. So thank you, Sangha, for showing up here today. Your presence here matters. You leave such an empowering impression in this space. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. We'll see you next time. Namaste.